picture this, you're going to buy a new driver, you walk into the shop and they have a standard 9-degree stiff shaft. That is what so many golfers go and buy, but what about if you are using the wrong loft on your driver? Guys, you could go and spend £500 on a driver. If you're using the wrong loft or the wrong shaft, you have wasted your money. You're not going to hit long drives, you're not going to hit as many fairways as you could do, and you're not going to get good at golf like we want you to do on this channel. So what loft driver should you be using? Guys, do us a favour, get in the comments below and let us know A, what loft are you using, also what shaft flex are you using, and were you fitted for both of those options in your driver. If also you want to tell us what driver you're using, that's fantastic, because guys, we really want to get a conversation going in the comments to see what drivers you are using. So what factors should I be thinking about if I'm using the wrong lofted driver? We all know that at the moment you can get adjustable drivers, you can change them from 10 to 9 to 11 to 12 degrees, but if I want to make sure I'm hitting the longest drives possible, I also need to make sure I've got the correct setup, that I'm making the right swing components to hit long drives. So I'm going to hit you 3 shots here, guys, and you're going to see 3 totally different ball flights. So the first one's going to be really low. You'll see that's a nice low cut down the middle of the fairway. What have I done to make this 9-degree driver go so low? If you want to get in the comments and have a guess, that's great. But now I'm going to hit you one a little bit higher, more a mid-flight. And these are all things you need to think about when you're thinking about what loft driver to have. So if I hit the same shot, it'll be a cut down the left side, but just a nice mid-flight. You'll see that's probably the window that I will be wanting to hit. When you're thinking about what window you want to hit with your driver, you're probably thinking about what golf course do you play at? What are the conditions like? Does it get windy? Does it get wet? Is it a very bone dry course? Would it help if you play that really low one and it runs forever? Now what if I want to hit a high shot? So I've hit a low one, I've hit a medium one. Now I'm going to hit you the third one, which will be a nice high cut. And guys, what am I changing in here? I'm going to reveal all in just a second, but I'm going to get this now nice and high down the fairway. So that is 3 totally different shots to finish probably in around the same position. What makes a difference as to how I use this loft? So you'll see first of all that I changed how I stand to the ball, so ball position was huge there, also the width of my stance, because what I'm trying to do is deliver different dynamic loft. So with this 9-degree, the first one I delivered less dynamic loft, the middle one I delivered around 9 degrees dynamic loft, and the third one I delivered a lot more dynamic loft. That was all down to how I release the club. So from the top of the backswing, I'm going to release the club a little bit late to get less dynamic loft on there to get the ball to come out lower. The second shot, you'll see that I released the club nice and neutrally, so the shaft was pretty straight there. And the third shot, which I sent a lot higher, we released the club a little bit earlier, and you'll see we actually had backward shaft lean. So that's how you can play different shots with different lofts. But what is really changing there when I change how I release the club in relation to what loft I have? We're actually changing the angle of attack. So a lot of people may think, you know what, I need a 9-degree driver because that means I'm big and strong, it means I'm going to hit long drives, when really if you look on tour, quite a few tour players may use 10.5. Vijay Singh famously used an 11.5-degree driver to win the Masters. That's because his angle of attack benefited from having more loft on there, so dynamically he could return that loft to give him the right launch factors, to give him the right spin, to get the right amount of distance. So ideally what you want to do, you want to make sure you have a nice shallow angle of attack. That means I'm going to be coming in and hitting the ball on the up with the driver, as opposed to a steeper angle of attack where we're going to hit down on the driver. If you hit down on the driver, that's generally when you may see the big horrible slices to the right, when you may see the roof marks on top of the club. But if your ball position's correct and if you take the club away properly, you should be in a position to have a nice shallow angle of attack into the ball, then deliver the perfect dynamic loft to hit the window in the air that you want to hit longer drives, straighter drives, and generally get better at golf. And so guys, what you'll see there is by delivering different dynamic lofts, it almost doesn't make a difference to me what loft I'm using as long as I know how I release the club, and that is the benefit of getting fitted for a driver, so you know dynamically how you deliver that club every time. If you deliver the club differently every time, you're going to really struggle to hit that window that you do want to hit, so make sure you know how to control that ball flight when deciding what loft driver to have in your bag. Guys, now Chris is going to talk us through shaft length and how that can also help you get better at golf. And he's going to do it now.
So guys, I'm going to talk to you now again about shaft. So shaft is very important here, and one big thing you want to consider is shaft length. So depending on where you hit the face, you might get a shorter length to your shaft, you might get it a little bit longer. It all depends on, again, on your pattern of where you are striking the shot. So for me, I often hit all over the face. That's why I've gone to a little bit of a shorter driver, but you'll have seen with the mini driver, it's got a 3 wood shaft length in it, so around about 43.5 inches in comparison to James's 45-inch driver. And that's just got me a little bit more consistent. It's got me a little bit more control of the head. I'm then striking it a little bit more out of the centre. And then again, we have talked about I've got a stiff shaft in there, so I've not gone extra stiff. I have more club head speed than James. I'm not saying I have a lot of club head speed, but obviously then you need to have the shaft. A lot of people go, all right, I feel like I swing it faster than my mate Bill, so I need an extra stiff shaft if he's got a stiff shaft. Not necessarily the case. You need to go and get fitted. I was fitted recently for a driver, and I had ended up with the lightest shaft and also a stiff shaft. It felt to me, and when I did the old classic, when people pick up the club, I thought, well, that might be a regular shaft. I shouldn't be in one of those. But it was the way the shaft was set up. It was a counterbalance shaft, and that was then the one where I could feel like I can hit it as hard as possible, and I had no real deviation in my shot. So I wasn't losing them way out to the right, which I normally do because I had a shaft that was too stiff, wasn't fit for me. It was just off the shelf, which a lot of people do. I'm seeing a lot of shots to the right. I wasn't striking them bad, but they were going out to the right with no control. So I've now got a shorter length shaft, but from here, again, loft-wise, this is a 13.5.
I love how you've got to look.
I had to double check that. This is a 13.5 degree mini driver, but we have set this lower to around about 11.5 degrees. So again, a lot of loft, but you will see from this, and depending on your technique, we can get this to launch exactly how you want by delivering the certain amount of dynamic loft. And that for me there comes out in a nice mid trajectory, not too high, not too low, and that's even with 11.5 degrees, which is a lot more than James had on his driver, but it's just about how we are going to return that loft. So you've got to think there, guys, it's all about choosing the loft that is the most consistent for you. We want to then think about what kind of ball flight do you like to see. So if you do go for a fitting, if you do go and use a TrackMan, you can tell your fitter, I like to see this flight. They will ask, or they should ask, but you want to get it into a window where you like. Yes, you'll have the ability, like James did, to hit it higher, you'll have the ability to hit it lower, but we want to get the right amount of loft. If that's 11 degrees, it's 11 degrees, but if that hits your window, a mid trajectory or a high trajectory, whichever you want, then that's going to be the driver for you. So think about that, guys. Don't just go instantly, oh, I need 8 degrees or I need 9 degrees because that's what I've seen on TV and that's normally what's on the shelf. You need to think what is right for you, what hits your window with your swing consistently. If we can do that, you're going to feel more confident over the driver, you're going to hit better drives, you're going to hit longer drives, and hopefully lower your handicap. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow.